is Spirogyra. Just a name, alga name. And this is a unicellular algae. And the one filamentous structure is there. That is one Spirogyra. So you are having numerous Spirogyra over here. Okay. But they're not living in a colony. See, they're not together. They're individually separated. They're not interspersed. Now, when you take Spirogyra like organisms, they will have chlorophyll pigment. So chlorophyll obviously is green in color. So the organisms which are Spirogyra like algae, they are kept under a common category called chlorophyceae. Chloro stands for the pigment color. Phyceae, phycology is nothing but study of algae. Okay, so here phy stands for algae and logo is always stands for study. So wherever you find this phyceae or phyceae, any word is good enough because it's a noun, you can pronounce either way. Chlorophyceae. Chlorophyceae, best example, Spirogyra. Like that you are having various other pigments other than chlorophyll in other algae. Okay, there may be red color pigment. Those are called rhodophyceae. And if the algae are having brown color pigment, then they are called phaeophyceae. Okay, so these are all names which indicates various groups of algae based on the pigment color. Okay, got it? The pigment green, chloro, red, rhodo, brown, pheo. Along with that, you are having another special kind of pigment which is blue-green. It's not blue, it's not green. It's a combination of blue-green algae. Why I'm specifying on this term is the blue-green algae are prokaryotes. Understand the difference. What we talked in the previous slide, the morphology, the structure, I said algae are eukaryotes. They'll be having two nucleus, the nucleus with nuclear membrane, nucleolus, chromosomes, everything with the nucleus. But blue-green algae are the specific type of algae which are prokaryotes. Prokaryote is nothing but they are having nucleoid, not true nucleus. So this is an exception. That's why blue-green algae are also called cyanobacteria. Remember the words and the terminology. Cyano here stands for blue-green pigment. So everything differentiation in alga groups is based on pigment only. Okay, based on the pigment you are having different categories and among them cyanobacteria or blue-green algae as a prokaryotic algae. It's an exception. Okay. Now all are photoautotrophs. See, don't get into a wrong idea like autotrophs means preparing food from light only. If the organism is preparing food from light, then it is called photoautotroph. You are having another different term called oxoautotroph. Okay, so some of the algae are oxoautotroph, means they can prepare their own food material from organic matter. See, most of the algae will live in aquatic environment or in moist environment. So from there the organic matter will be used to prepare food by themselves. Those are called oxoautotrophs. So you are having all autotrophs of algae. Among them some are photoautotrophs which definitely possess pigments like chlorophyll or rhodophyll or phaeophyll based on the color of the pigment. And oxoautotrophs are also there in algae which use the organic matter from the inhabitant where they are, either from the water, marine, brackish or fresh water. This is all about nutrition part of algae. So here see, these are the volvox which are living together as a colony. This is the colony where the organism lives together and each organism depends on each other so that they will intake the nutrition together. That's called not a division of labor exactly, but a dependence on each other for their survival. When you take the reproduction process, basically algae like microorganisms reproduction, it happens either in vegetative way or asexual method. Most of the times, most of the algae will go for vegetative reproduction. Now when you take a reproduction process, reproduction is nothing but giving rise to offspring. That's the first point. From the parent, the daughter cells. That's all. Now, when you take vegetative reproduction, before explaining the term, I'll give an example. See, potato. When you take potatoes, the potato will be having eyes on it. On numerous eyes will be there on the potato. You just cut open one of the eye and you plant that eye part of potato. It will grow and develop into individual adult plant. You know this simple one. This is called vegetative reproduction. Now I'll explain the process. Vegetative reproduction by definition is nothing but any part of plant could able to grow into an adult plant. That's all. The term vegetative, why we are using vegetative parts is nothing but the root part or the stem part or the leaf part. That's the vegetative part. Okay. When you take the fruit or flower, those are not vegetative parts. You'd have read this in parts of plant, isn't it? In parts of plant, you'll be having two parts in the plant, basically vegetative part and reproductive part, isn't it? So the vegetative part includes what? The vegetative part includes root and shoot system, including stem, leaves, branches, all those comes under vegetative part. When you go for reproductive part of a plant, what are the reproductive part of plant? You will have flower, which may further grow into fruit, isn't it? So from fruit you will get seeds, and through seeds you will have the adult plant. This is the actual way. If it goes through reproductive part, the plant. If the plant goes through vegetative reproduction, it has to go through root system or shoot system, isn't it? So here they have taken example of stem in the class exercise. So that's what I have given that example under vegetative reproduction. So vegetative part of the plant, if can grow into an adult plant, that is vegetative reproduction. Clear? Then coming to asexual reproduction. Asexual, here the sexual contact won't be there. That's why asexual. So either of the parent, either male part of the plant or female part of the plant. I hope you remember the flower diagram you would have done in earlier class, isn't it? In the flower diagram, you will be having sepals. You heard these words? Petals, then carpels. It's okay. Different terminology they'll give. Sepals, petals, sometimes they'll give as the green part of the plant, colored part of the plant, something like that. Don't get bothered about the terminology. You know parts of flower, isn't it? So in parts of flower, if it is a unisexual flower, you will have only one organ. And if it's a bisexual flower, you will be having two organs. So if such flower where only one parent, means either the pollen grains or the ovary is involved in reproduction, that is asexual. So not both the parents are involved. That is asexual reproduction. Okay. So here the basic idea is vegetative reproduction of a plant is related to vegetative parts of the plant like the root, stem, leaves, branch, etc. And reproductive method, which is by asexual means or either sexual means, it will go through reproductive parts like the flower and fruit. That's the basic knowledge. Okay. Now here when you take the alga, So in algae, most of the algae, they go for vegetative reproduction. So as of now, I said vegetative reproduction is nothing but using the vegetative parts, not the organs which are involved in sexual reproduction. So here what happens is this best example I'm taking. See, one Spirogyra, a part of Spirogyra, and this is another part of Spirogyra. I'm just demarcating on the picture, observing. So one Spirogyra algae will go for division of its body like this in the form of fragments. Fragments are nothing but the parts, getting pieces of the body. So based on the favorable and unfavorable conditions. So this word I used starting of the session of microorganism. So favorable conditions where they can grow repeatedly, unfavorable conditions where they'll go and hide in the form of cysts or spores, and when favorable conditions come, they will sprout out. This is all microorganisms will do. Same happens with algae also. In algae, vegetative reproduction happens only under favorable condition. Under favorable condition, the body parts will get into fragments and each fragment will grow into new adult. This process is called fragmentation. Okay, so this is vegetative method of reproduction in algae. Why we are saying vegetative reproduction? Because there is no sex organs involved. Only the body parts will get cut into pieces like that based on the conditions available at its inhabitant, and it will develop into an adult. So this is how vegetative reproduction happens in algae. Now when you go for asexual reproduction, in asexual reproduction, what happens is when you take the whole Spirogyra, I'm taking another Spirogyra example over here. See, you're having various structures inside the Spirogyra. They may be having chlorophyll pigments, they may be having mitochondria, and even ribosomes also for protein synthesis. So what happens is spores will be produced by the algae. The algae produces spores during unfavorable conditions. So spores are nothing but the one which will grow into adult. So this is kind of asexual reproduction. Okay. So here algae can go for two types of reproduction: vegetative by fragmentation, asexual by spore formation during favorable and unfavorable conditions. Most it will be having structure like this. So this structure itself carries the pigments, the ribosome, everything will be dispersed in that. Now here what happens is, within the filament of Spirogyra, so when unfavorable conditions, remember the word unfavorable conditions, there is no sufficient food intake, assume nutrition fats are less under unfavorable condition. What happens is each individual part of this filament will get expanded, will get accumulated with water food material stored in the Spirogyra and pinches off from the body, and this is called spore. So that's why I insisted on the point favorable, unfavorable. When favorable conditions are there, it goes for easy fragmentation and growing into adult vegetative reproduction, fine. But under unfavorable condition, I took an example. Insufficient food, assume that a Spirogyra is like algae, the full pond is totally filled with plastic and all such waste material, which are the activities of human beings. Okay, so in such condition, it will not get oxygen properly, it will not get sunlight properly. So there will be insufficiency of food, isn't it? So in such unfavorable condition, within the body, each cell will get accumulated, surrounded by what are the storage material inside the body. So mostly all the processes which are involved in autotrophy, those organisms will store food, isn't it? When sunlight is there, they'll prepare and later they'll store the food. So the stored food will be used and it will get expanded like this, and it gets pinches off from the body and protects itself. So see, this is called spore. Under unfavorable conditions, asexual means.